Hey, sports card fans, it's John Wade Boggs fan. Hope you're all doing well. This is my weekly video series in which I talk about my top 5 favorite cards of a particular player. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about my top 5 Mike Schmidt cards. Now, before I get to those top 5 cards, last week's episode was on Bob Gibson. And I asked all of you to put in the comments what are your top 5 Bob Gibson cards. So I'm going to do a summary of those results, and then I'm going to get into my top 5 favorite Mike Schmidt cards. Okay, I had 12 responses from you in the comments letting me know what your top 5 Bob Gibson cards. So out of all the cards that were voted on, the top 5 voted cards, there were 10 of you that mentioned the 1960 Topps card. 8 of you mentioned 1965 Topps, and then 7 of you mentioned his 1959 Topps rookie card, his 1967 Topps card, and his 1971 Topps card. The only card of Bob Gibson that did not get any votes was his 1973 Topps. So how did you rank your top 5 Bob Gibson cards? Well, out of those top 5 vote getters, coming in at number 5 was his 1967 Topps card, and that was actually my number 5 card. Your number 4 card was his 1971 Topps card. I actually had that at my number 3 spot. And for you, at number 3 was his 1965 Topps card. I had that at the number 4 spot. And number 2 was his 1959 Topps rookie card. I also had that at the number 2 spot. And at the number 1 spot for your favorite Bob Gibson card was his 1961 Topps card, which I also had at my number 1 favorite card. All right, let's get into the Mike Schmidt cards. Now, when I started this video series, I was going to choose my top 5 favorite cards from that player's PSA Basic set registry. Now, most of the players I'm going to be looking at are from the vintage era that have their rookie card during the vintage period of 1948 to 1980. And most of those players are going to have cards no later than 1980. So I can go with their PSA Basic Set Registry set, which may include a 1963 Fleer card, some Bowman cards, maybe a 1949 Leaf card. But in the case of Mike Schmidt, his baseball card career during his playing days went all the way into 1989. So his basic set registry includes, Donruss cards, Fleer, Score, Upper Deck. In all, there were 47 cards in his PSA Basic Set registry. Well, that was a lot of cards for me to look through to try to determine my top 5 favorite cards. So for Mike Schmidt and probably other players like Mike Schmidt that had cards well into the 1980s, I will most likely be just looking at their PSA Basic Topps registry set. And for Mike Schmidt, there were 17 cards ranging from his 1973 rookie card, Topps rookie card, to his 1989 Topps card. All right, so let's get into my top 5 favorite Mike Schmidt cards. At number 5, I chose his 1976 Topps card. Now, this one may not be on any of your top 5 lists. This is a bit of a sentimental pick for me. I've told the story of me acquiring some 1964 Topps cards when I was young from a neighborhood classmate of mine that they were cards from a family member that he really didn't collect. I traded some, I think, Phillies and Steelers cards or something like that to him for this small group of 1964 Topps cards, and I thought that was really cool to have cards that old when I was maybe 10 years old or so. Well, for this 1976 Topps card, I have an older cousin, and when he knew that I was interested in baseball cards, he had just a small, maybe 100, no more than 200 cards in just a small collection. He really didn't collect; he had just bought cards, and so he decided to give me his cards, and most of them were 1977 Topps cards, but there were a few 1976 Topps cards in there, and I think a small number of 1975 Topps cards. But one of the 1976 Topps cards that he gave me was this Mike Schmidt card. Now, the condition of that card is, let's just say, less than desirable, but it's a memorable card that I had and still have in my collection. The thing has so many creases in it, but it was just an older card. My first cards that I bought were from 1978. So to me, when I was younger, this was a quote-unquote older card, and I just thought it was cool. So this 1976 Topps Mike Schmidt card is special to me for that respect. And when I'm done with my top 5 list here, I'm going to show off that 1976 Topps card, and you can see all the different flaws and creases in it, but it still has some good memories for me. So that's why I placed that card at the number 5 spot. At number 4 for me is his 1977 Topps card. Now, I don't think this is one that I got from my cousin, but I just like the overall design of it. I'm not a huge fan necessarily of the 1977 Topps set in general, but this image here of Mike Schmidt, I really like the Liberty Bell logo that, if you look really closely, shows off a 7 and a 6 for 1776. So it was sort of a 100-year or 200-year sort of anniversary of the country, and so it looks like they had a special little patch on their uniform. The picture was obviously taken in 1976 for the 77 Topps card, but just like the overall image, the color of the card, so that's why I chose his 1977 Topps for my 4th favorite Mike Schmidt card. At number 3, I chose his 1983 Topps card. Now, this is a bit of an in-action card of Mike Schmidt. If you look through his basic Topps run, you won't see a lot of action images. Now here, doesn't look like it's one of his home run swings. Looks like maybe it was more of like a line drive or a ground ball, maybe to up the middle, or it looks like he's maybe looking at second base, but it's still a pretty cool action shot of Mike Schmidt. Love the overall design of the 1983 Topps set with that little second portrait image of him down in that circle in the bottom right hand corner. And again, just the color scheme of the card just to me makes it look like a really nice baseball card of Mike Schmidt. So I put his 83 Topps card at the number 3 spot. All right, at number 2, I decided to go with his 1980 Topps card. I just like the look of this, the design of 1980 Topps card. We have that bottom sort of banner there with the team name, the notation that he was a National League All-Star for 1979, and just take a look. This is a batting practice, batting cage photo, but check out that it looks like a zip-up sweater that he's wearing for batting practice. So just thought it was a unique image of Mike Schmidt, the 1980 Topps design in general. So I placed this card at the number 2 spot. All right, now for my favorite Mike Schmidt card, I decided to go with his 1986 Topps card. Now, this is an action shot of Mike Schmidt. That looks like it has to be one of his home run swings. He's looking out to the outfield. If that wasn't a home run, it was probably a drive to deep center or left center field. Just a great action image shot of Mike Schmidt, and you have that dark sort of border at the top with the Phillies in the red. Just a simple design of 86 Topps. So I thought this was my favorite Mike Schmidt card. Okay, here's the 1976 Topps Mike Schmidt card that I was talking about. Just check out the creases in this card. I don't know how it got in this condition. It definitely wasn't from me, so it must have been when my cousin had the card. But as you can see here with the glare, there's a bend in the card that goes all the way down there through the top of the card that way. And then there's two horizontal creases in the card. There's a prominent one right there, and there's a secondary one that runs up there. You know, the corners are all, busted up. It's off center. There's a ink smudge there on the border. Definitely is showing some wear. Here's the back of the card. You can see that major crease there going from the left to the right, and you can even see, I think, yeah, there's one of the creases going, in this case, left to right here. That second one maybe is minor, doesn't show up on the back, but definitely a well-loved, well-handled card. But again, this is one that I got from my cousin in a group of cards that he gave me. And I just thought, as I don't know if I picked these cards up from my cousin before I picked up those 1964 Topps cards or after. I can't quite remember, but it was around the same time period. But still, to have some cards in my collection before I started opening packs in 1978, I thought was cool to have some, quote unquote, older cards in my collection. And this was one of them. And it's, again, as you can see, not in the greatest of conditions, but still a sentimental card that I have as part of my collection. Okay, so now that I talked about my top 5 favorite Mike Schmidt cards, this is where I want your opinion. So in the comments of this video, please let me know what are your top 5 Mike Schmidt cards from his PSA Topps run. So that would be his Topps cards from 1973 to 1989. And it would be helpful if you put those cards in numerical order. Let me know which is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 being your favorite Mike Schmidt card and 5 being your 5th favorite Mike Schmidt card. It'll help me with the tabulations for next week's video, in which I'll go over all of your responses, compile them, and show off which of the top 5 Mike Schmidt cards you voted for. So I had 12 responses for last week's video. Would love to have more responses in this video. All right, now before I go, I'm going to be choosing the player that I'm going to be choosing my top 5 favorite cards for next week's episode. So let's go to the Wheel of Names and select the player for next week. All right, here are the remaining 38 players from my original 40 player list that I've put together. So you'll see some of the remaining names here on that list. Lots of great Hall of Famers, a few non-Hall of Famers. I do have Thurman Munson and Pete Rose on my list. So let's select the player for next week. And it's going to be, right on the edge, Nolan Ryan. Okay, so this is going to be another large group of cards I have to look through, and this will be another one that I will be looking at just his PSA Basic Tops set of registry cards. So it'll be his Tops cards from 1968 to, 1994, or whatever his last Tops playing days card is. I think there's over 25 cards that I'll have to look at and choose for which are my top 5 Nolan Ryan cards. So this is going to be very interesting. So I hope you look forward to next week's episode, which I'll take a look at my top 5 favorite Nolan Ryan cards. And with that, that's all I have for you. So until next time, thanks for watching.